My guest today is Loic Houssier, an engineering executive with 20 years of leadership experience at startups, scale ups, and global enterprises. He currently leads engineering at Superhuman, the most productive email app ever made. He specializes in helping high growth companies scale with speed and discipline, bringing a culture of excellence and rigor to how teams ship, scale, and make decisions. Loic has also held senior engineering roles at Product Board, First Base, and DocuSign, where he led global teams through platform expansion and merger and acquisitions. Loic, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, awesome. I've heard that you have a team that maybe skeptical of AI. So if you have a team that's skeptical of AI, like what's the first like small scale experiment or step that you would recommend for a team to sort of like build trust and demonstrate the value of AI without disrupting like core workflows?
That's a good question. We were in that situation like beginning of 2025 at Superhuman. And I think the thing that clicked with my team, mostly senior people, long tenure, they have their flows, they know how to work.
Yeah.
They look like they're pretty cynical with everything that is like a bit buzzy and
very
everything.
typical engineers.
I mean,
sound of
you know what I'm talking about, right? I think where we've been smart, we've used our most senior and respected engineer, which is like a chief architect, can go like multi-stack everywhere, like the typical like crazy guy that everyone looks up to.
Yeah.
And he was one of those cynical. And we discussed together and said, you know what? Redo like a deep dive, because he did a deep dive 6 months ago and it was not ready. It was not there. It was not good enough for the level of quality that we were looking for. And we moved fast. So it was more like something that was slowing people down rather than anything. And in Jan, he did another try. He's like, oh my God, that's different now. At least I see the potential. At least with the right guardrails, that can work. And he started to use it on a daily basis, being intentional, putting that into his flow. And he's like I don't like this term like 10x engineer, but like it's typically someone that you would qualify like this if you have to. So he slowed down a bit to learn a new flow, to learn like how this is impacting his own ways and everything. And basically did a quick talk internally to say, hey, people, that's crazy. And I think like creating this sense of, oh, damn, if Mike is looking at it seriously now, there's something to it. So that was the first thing, like creating this sense of like, oh damn, it's not like just buzz anymore. It's not just like vibe coding stories that you hear on Twitter and anything and everything. Like it's real. It's real. Sure, it's not perfect and everything, but that was a kickoff.
We've seen, both here at Dev Interrupted, but LinearB, our sponsor company, like we've seen a very similar effect where product decisions that we maybe tried to make like a year ago with the given technology, like it just didn't, it either would have taken too much effort to build like something with AI, or it just didn't work the way we wanted it to. And then, and then stuff we're doing today, it's like, it actually takes a fraction of the effort that we expected because the technology has advanced so much that suddenly now things that we didn't think would be possible, like we're suddenly doing like with relative ease.
Yeah, one thing that is interesting on that topic is like we try to measure the impact over the time, and between like qualitative and quantitative, I would say metrics. The one thing that everyone is aligned on is that if there's a velocity gain, it's basically on two things. One is like the time to ramp up on a new stack. You're not in that domain. You need to collaborate with a new team. You don't know the stack, you don't know the libraries, you don't know the structure and everything. It's like brand new. Damn. Like the ramp up now is so easy. You can just like talk to your code, understand the entry point, but why they do it this way, not that way, like all like cursor, code and everything, like they will basically bring you up to speed super fast. So like this domain expertise that you don't have, that would take a couple of days to be fully set up, fully understand the way the new team is working, 1 hour, and you get like a nice picture. So that's the first one that we've seen. The other piece, you were talking about like the time to build becomes like different based on the stacks and everything. What we've seen is like all the tools, the side tools that you're always like, oh damn, if I had like one day, I would build that tool that will save me like hours and hours and hours. It's not production code, but like something that you would do on the side. Maybe it's, I don't know, some sort of like a CSV parser that you don't have the time to do and everything. And now 2 prompts, 20 minutes, and you have something that is working. You never had the time to do. So all those small additions overall contribute to a great improvement of the velocity of the
Yeah.
tests.
And a phrase I'm hearing more and more is like disposable code. So even if that problem is disposable, you only solve it now and then you just throw the code away for the rest of time. It's like it only took me 2 prompts, so why not
Exactly.
do it anyways?
Yeah. And it's saving so much time globally, and you don't care. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like drawing on the back of the napkin. It's like code on the back of the napkin, and it just works. So
Yeah, and I'm wondering because another theme that I hear a lot as I speak to a lot of engineering leaders is there's almost this relationship between internal AI initiatives and building AI products. So if you don't have that sort of like internal built competency with AI, like if you don't know how to use AI to in your day-to-day work, like to be more productive yourself, like whether it's writing code or onboarding to a new stack or just you haven't like internalized a practice, you may struggle to actually like adopt AI as a product. Like if you were trying to build AI into like your product, and that's something that Superhuman has been doing a lot recently. Do you feel that sense as well? Like do
that's
those
an
two things
interesting
come like
one.
hand in
Like, are
hand?
they interconnected to some extent? Especially in the that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because the approach is like slightly different. As you said, on one end, it's like a productivity tools and how you improve your flow, which is slightly different. That okay, I use an LLM and an OpenAI API or based on like inference, whatever, to do the job that I need for the code. I think you can be very cynical for your own tooling because I would say our people are craftsmen or craftwomen. So they love the craft. So they are like I would say very specific in like the tools and tweaking like their own workflows compared to like, hey, I need to bit for my users. I know like the way to surface like that type of information. I need to use an LLM. So I feel it's slightly decorrelated. And I don't know if one is influencing the other. I guess seeing the result of an LLM in production for our users getting better and better is an incentive to maybe reconsider your own flow and how you can leverage some of that in your flow. But the problem is like it's different tools. Even if like the backbone it's still an LLM, your flow depends on the way it is surfaced, like in the way you work. So like it's not because OpenAI or whatever APIs are working well for your use case implemented in your code that your IDE use that, I would say, the right way. And yeah, I don't know what you think.
Hey, I'm not the one being interviewed. Well, so you touched briefly on measuring the impact of AI. So I wonder if maybe we can dive into that a little bit more
Yeah,
because that's something we're hearing a lot. Like every engineering leader we talk to, this comes up. Like, how do we make sure that we're investing in the right tools and that those tools are actually having a positive impact on our organization and that we can prove that that positive impact has happened? So how does Superhuman approach that challenge?
that's an interesting one. In Q1 in 2025, the first approach was like, you know what? Let's not measure. Let's get adoption
Yeah.
because like there's like everything is changing. Everything is different. Like if you're a mobile engineer working on Kotlin or you're a front-end engineer working on React, the models might be different. Your IDEs are different. The tools are different.
Yeah.
And the maturity of such tools might also be different. So you cannot expect to have the same level of adoption or the same level of productivity gain based on the different teams. So that's the first point. But so we opened the flow. We said, you know what, free for all. You take 3 subscription to whatever tools you want and everything will pay. And the only thing that we were asking for is to consolidate like the use cases where it was working. So we compiled a list of like, hey, here, not mature, doesn't work. That, damn, that was cool. Here, promising. Maybe we should try again in 3 months.
Yeah.
So that was like the aspect to drive the adoption. The adoption at that time was mostly measured in terms of how many subscription people have, do they consume their tokens, whatever. And it was great. Adoption was there. And then, like you mentioned, like how do you prove this is working? Because at some point, my CFO was like, "Hey, I would say you guys like they're spending like quite some money. Like, is it useful?" So we started to be like a bit more precise. It's still juggling between qualitative and quantitative approach. We trust our engineers. They work hard. So like if they tell me yes, like I think I'm winning like 20%, like productivity gain over like the course of a month. We trust them. Very qualitative, but we wanted some quantitative data.
Yeah.
So basically, we started to flag our PRs with some specific labels.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I used AI, and in that case, no impact. Or like, I spent so much time trying to get, I would say, the PR with the help of AI. If I had done it myself, it would have been like so much better. So we were starting to like categorize the work pretty fast. We're seeing that 90% of the PRs were AI helpful, qualified, and with an adoption roughly said around like 70%. So 70% of the PR were flagged. Sometimes you just don't need like you fix the CSS or fix like you don't need AI. So like I think it's
Yeah.
you don't need to measure more. So like all of a sudden we had some sort of like a proof that one, it's used,
Yeah.
and two, it's useful. And again, we rely on the trust of our people. If they say it's useful, and they're pretty like vocal. So if they say no, it's shit,
Yeah.
pardon my French. If they say it's not great, we will trust them as well. So clearly, that was like a very solid signal. Now, in terms of productivity, it's multifactorial. So AI is one piece, but there's also like all the change you do in an organization, you structure your team and everything. And the one KPI we're looking at Superhuman is the number of PR per engineer per week on average, not at the individual level. So that's why we normalize per engineer. And we've seen the trend going up.
Okay.
Even as we grow, even as we are getting acquired over the summer, we've seen this trend of like basically the raw throughput being better, while I would say not the average, but like the median PR size staying the same. So there's a lot of like things we can say about this metric,
Yeah.
but at least it's one that is the most directionally right about like the performance of the team in terms of throughput. And we've seen the progress. And we do believe that AI was like a major part of that.
Yeah, the PR throughput, it's one of those. It's a tricky one because it's probably not the best one to set goals around, because if you tell people you have AI make more PRs, you'll get more PRs.
I'm transparent on it. So like I'm gonna say I have my OKRs and I say, guys, ideally we want to be there. Do I will use that as a performance metric, like for the performance cycles and everything? No, but just know that this is my way to, I would say, show to the board, show to the rest of the exec team how we work better. Because one, I don't want to measure too much things, because then you start like more measuring than working.
Yeah.
So like, let's have like one thing that is simple. Everyone understands. You understand that it is, okay, that's roughly said a lagging indicator of our throughput, and our performance. But at the end of the day, I don't care. You are, I don't know, you're a backend engineer and you're working on like removing like doing like a huge migration from one framework to the other. You will have like a massive PR and you spend like 2 weeks on it and everything. I mean, I won't complain. So it's still a metric, it's still an objective, but like loosely held, so that they understand what's behind it, which is much more important.
And if you're in a high trust environment, and you know that it can at least tell you something has changed, within
Exactly.
your organization. And it may not be something you track forever, but it could be something that as you adopt a new tool, you can say, we can see that something has changed about our throughput, understand the ramifications of that, and try to understand if there's any sort of negative impact
Exactly.
from it.
And as with every metric, the metric in itself is useless. It's like the discussion that the metric is I would say triggering that would be interesting. So like if you see something like maybe one team not taking off as part of this like constant, I would say, improvement, then you can ask questions. You can dig in. You can talk with the tech lead and like, what do you think? What's your perspective? Like,
Right.
everyone is like beneficiating from that. Why not here? What's the problem? And maybe it's contextual. Maybe it's because like this month we were working on this freaking project. It was like really tricky. So a lot of thoughts, small amount of code, makes sense. But you have these discussions. So, and that's the most valuable part of any metric.
Here at Dev Interrupted, we really evangelize this idea of like, metrics lead to action. If you're just measuring and you're not doing anything with that information, there's really no point in measuring. So the goal should always be like have it lead to something that makes improvement, so as
Yeah.
long as that's the outcome, like that's what really.
No, exactly. And you mentioned something important, like the culture of trust.
Yeah.
Like I was like direct. I said, "Hey guys, I need a KPI. I'm freaking KPI for my, I would say for my exec team. Come up like I discuss with my leads. We think this one is like okay-ish. Nothing is perfect. Understand that this is what it is. Basically, don't game it. I don't need to have like amazing results if it's not related to what we do. Okay, so let's be honest with each other and everything. And when you trust people, they're like, okay, we understand what you're trying to do. We do our best, and boom, that works. But trust.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some of the barriers to adopting AI within an organization. So just beyond technical implementation,
Yeah.
because that's something that we kind of discuss endlessly on this show. So what do you think are some of the, like, effective communication tactics that you've used to, like, address particularly like psychological barriers around AI and around like fear in particular? Like, you mentioned that, like, you had that lead developer that sort of changed the perception
Yeah.
around AI within the organization. Beyond that, like what have you done just to help communicate the value of AI within your organization and help like overcome like the non-technical side of AI?
Yeah. One of the aspects that we've decided very early on is to separate the different stacks. We understand things are different based on where you work because different workflows, different like IDs and everything. So just saying like, hey, don't compare yourself, don't whatever. Like we won't do that. So we build guilds.
Yeah.
So we have this concept of guild. We have a front end guild, we have a back end guild, blah blah blah. And we decided to create like an AI guild.
Okay.
The purpose of the guild was to gather like the best practices of each pod, understanding like how they work, what's working, what's not working, and also like being an evangelist at the same time. It proved to be like a really good way to have like every pod knowing that this guild existed. One person on their pod was so like everyone was aware of everything that we would do. So for example, I had to modify a bit our like compliance approval process for new tools because I just wanted like you want a tool today, you need to have it today. Like you don't want to wait like 1 week because compliance, because security and everything. We still want to be safe because we manipulate some, I would say, pretty critical data, but we wanted this to be like the P0 for the compliance team. So they knew like new tool for AI and productivity. You stop everything that you do and you validate it. So those are the things that were helpful. And the guild was basically saying and basically like sharing this information that, hey, all the roadblocks from a compliance financial standpoint are removed. You want to try something, try something. Oh, and we say yesterday I was on the guild meeting. That team is doing X, Y, and Z. Sounds cool. Oh yeah, I will try it this week. And I think that works a lot. So for example, on my side, so I'm a CTO, VPN, whatever you want to call it, I totally stepped away. I didn't want it to be like top down, like, oh, we need to use AI. I said, hey, guys, AI seems cool, free for all. Like my KPI is like throughput. If it's not helpful, don't do it. If it's helpful, please, I would say don't be smart. And I totally delegated the influence to that guild led by this chief architect that was highly respected.
Yeah.
And I think that it worked a lot. Like I was focusing on what I do best, which is like working with the rest of the organization, making sure that there's like no like red tapes and everything. And they had like the in-depth understanding of what's working, what's not working, while I would have been maybe a bit more like removed from the code and using some like, of course it works. I've seen a Twitter, I also a tweet yesterday or something like this. So
Yeah. We actually have a similar concept. We call it the AI Council, which I love because it's almost like a Jedi Council, like, and I think what I really love about this approach is it kind of reflects like what's becoming like a traditional approach at this point of like the DevX team, where it's like a broadly focused team that sort of has to overarch the entire organization in many ways, and it's more focused on like broad developer challenges like tooling and best practices and training, support, enablement. It's like seeing the forest, but then also being able to, like, when they have to, like, dive in and like evaluate the individual trees to like help like the front end team like understand why this model is hallucinating like crazy when they use certain libraries and stuff. Because I think this is something that a lot of organizations, like 2025 has been the year that a lot of organizations have really learned one really powerful lesson, and that is an AI tool. If you just throw an AI tool out there, it's probably going to fall flat on its face in many situations. It'll work sometimes, but there'll be a lot of times where it just doesn't have the context that it needs to be successful. And a lot of what like an AI guild or an AI council can help is identifying those situations where it does have the context out of the box, and you can just deploy it and just throw it out there and be like, here it is, developers, go use it now. But then also, more importantly, finding the situations where it doesn't have all of the context and tools and resources that it needs, and then helping those teams build those resources so that you can then deploy AI in that situation.
Yeah, and I would say we've seen it like this. So our AI console equivalent. So for one, it's not a Jedi console in a sense that we didn't like selected like the most senior Jedi to work on it, but
Well, what I actually love about that team is it's all ranks. Like,
yes, exactly.
it's like we have junior people who really got into AI, and we're like, please join us, and like you're helping guide the most senior people at our company.
I think like the most senior people comes with that sarcastic curiosity about things, so they will try things like to really understand if it's working and not, I would say, basically, scream victory, like as soon as we have like a line of code that is generated. But more junior people have still this brain plasticity.
Yeah,
they know the tools are changing every week, so like they will try the tool every week. Compared to someone that is maybe like I would say more senior, you try it once, not working, confirmation bias, and you don't look at it for like a month or two. So I think that blend was working well. You need people also that are pretty energetic. So if those people are too introvert, too much, like talking to the rest of the organization and everything might be a challenge. So we have a good blend of people, I was in that console, and it's working well. And they are the ones who are facing like, oh, we have this cool like config file for cursor, and like using our context and everything. And all of a sudden, okay, can we do it like it's personal, like we put it in the repo and everyone is using it and everything. So like those practices start to rise from this console, and it's cool.
Yeah, and I think one more point on the levels of seniority, like junior, whether it's developers or any role within the company, junior level people versus senior level people adopt AI in very different ways from what we've seen. Like a junior level developer, generally speaking, they often are using it for more like code generation or maybe learning, onboarding to a new tech stack. Whereas a senior developer, they're typically they already know how to write code really efficiently, so they maybe don't use AI for that as much, but they might use it for ideating in the early planning stages. So it's really important to get all of those perspectives on your AI council or guild.
No, totally. And you're right. Like the ideation part is probably like the way like most people are using, like most senior people are using it. Like, hey, I see this. That's a problem I'm trying to fix. My strategy is to do X, Y, and Z. What do you think? Challenge that. And they use basically tools like this to make sure like, this is thinking out of the box this time. That's interesting. I might dig in. And it gives you also like more confidence that you're on the right track.
Yeah. So I just got one more question for you. So do you have any like specific examples of like workflows or daily tasks within the Superhuman engineering team that where you've seen like the introduction of AI lead to like some sort of non-obvious improvement to either speed or quality?
I can mention one very personal. Like we were acquired over the summer by Grammarly, and in any due deal, there's a lot of like computation of data that you need to do.
Yeah, which by the way, I want to mention, it's like my two favorite tools in the world, like coming together.
Lovely. So hopefully you'll get the best of both worlds. And during this due diligence, you need to compute like a bunch of data, like you crunch. And in one case, like was like, hey, list all the open source libraries that you're using. Tell me like all the license there are, MIT, GPL, whatever. Tell me who's the licensor. I was like, what the is the licensor? Sorry for your audience. And then like, oh, that's the name that is officially on the license and everything. Like, holy cow! I would go like into like all the GitHub repo and find. I said, hey, Claude Code, I have this small problem. I have this CSV with all the list of the open source libraries. We already tracked like the GitHub repos of those. Like create like a script that will find the README or the README or the license .txt or whatever like file that is like containing the license. In that document, find the licensor. Oh my God, 90% of it was matched.
Wow.
Something that would have like, I would have brute force it. I mean, there's no chance, like a due diligence, you don't have the time, like whatever, like you, and you cannot just involve all your team, like to distribute the work and everything. So like, and it took me like, I guess like 1 hour and a half, like vibe coding through it. And so that's it. That was a good example. Something that where I would have spent like 2 days and nights during the due diligence. As you said, disposable code. Like, I don't even know where this, I would say, script is now, and it's done. So that's a good example.
Believe it or not, I used to work in open source compliance. So this use case, like I would want to rip my eyes out rather than trying to do that manually. So having AI for something like that is pretty incredible.
Yeah, because like all the tools that are doing those, I would say SAST and like to understand like the open source libraries that you're using and everything, they don't go to the who is the licensor. So like you have this nice file and everything, and you believe that you're covered for your due deal, and all of a sudden you have this request that is coming.
That data has got to be so messy. Like there's no way that data is clean.
It's not structured. It's not. So it was fun. It was fun, but it was a good usage of AI.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, it's been really great having you on our show, Loic. Thank you so much for
thanks for the good time.
Today. To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in today. If you're not subscribed to our Substack, head over to devinterrupted.substack.com. Click the subscribe button. Give us a review on wherever you listen to us for podcasts, and tune in to us next week. We'll see you then.